You stars Penn Badgley as Joe Goldberg, a bookstore clerk in New York City, and it's an extremely well done drama thriller. You is basically about a guy named Joe who meets this girl named Gwen in his bookstore, and they hit it off, and it shows kind of like a Ted Bundy romance relationship. And I gotta say, I really love this show, guys. I remember being blown away by how real this show is. The show has a tone to it that feels alive. It's like you're side by side with the character, almost as if you're a ghost and he's like well aware you're there. Normally people don't like narration to explain things, but I think it works marvelously in this show. Every word that comes out of his mouth is so what every guy feels and thinks. You really level with Joe and you really start to care for this character. We see early on he's good with kids. He meets a main character named Paco. He has a lot to do later on in the show. He lives in the building with an abusive stepfather. You can tell his mom has a good heart, but she's an addict of some sort. So it's a lot of tension there with Paco and his parents. And that's what the show does great. Every character feels so real. And that's what the show does so good. Now, in my opinion, this is the best representation of a current day relationship that I've ever seen put on screen. It's not some 50 Shades of Grey bullshit. There's actually not really a lot of sex scenes in this show. Sure, early on, we get like a quick sex scene with Guinevere Beck's ex and Gwen. The show is mainly a lot of characters just talking, getting to know each other. We see a lot of close shots of characters' faces while they talk. Kind of like, I wouldn't say like how Friday Night Lights did it, but you can tell the director really wants you to see the character's true raw emotions through every word getting spoken. It really shows how friends react when your really close friend starts giving away too much attention and you get that jealous feeling. You see how it brings out the dark side in people. Now the show kicks off in a way that I was really invested in. Like the moment it started playing, I was like, whoa, this is good. Like this is awesome. So yeah, the show starts off with a narration from Joe as we get to see his perspective on Guinevere Beck. Kind of a weird name, but I like it. We can tell Joe is pretty smart and well thought and is really describing this girl.
You're not here to be ogled, but those bracelets, they jangle.
For the first 4 minutes, we already get the entire point of view from our protagonist, a good read on Beck, our female lead, and we get great edits and shots. The whole show is filmed really nice. Gotta give credit to where the credit's due. We get a lot of shots, kind of how Joker did it, where there will be scenes for a long time of just Joe walking or standing with the New York atmosphere, and it helps you read the characters super well. The comedy in this show has relied heavily on Joe. He's actually really funny with his delivery about things. He turned his misery into comedy so well. And he's not annoying with. I didn't feel once he overdid it. The satire feels very real. It isn't like there's that one comedic character that is all the comedy. Just a situation Joe gets himself in makes it super funny. Mainly because he's on screen, I would say 95% of the time. And even if he's not on screen, he's always narrating his thoughts and dissecting other people. The remaining cast does a really good job in the show. I always hate when there's that one annoying character in the show, and thankfully I didn't get that. We actually got pretty fleshed out side characters, even though Joe's always on screen. Now I really like the way Joe treats kids in this show. It brings a very different point of view to Joe's character. Early on, we get really good dialogue with his neighbor Paco that we mentioned earlier. You can tell him and Joe have a nice bond. He even offers him his entire meatball sub early on, and we get to see that he reads books. And after he's done reading, Joe offers to give him another one. I like Paco. He's a cool kid. Joe's coworker is also a really nice character. He doesn't get too much screen time. He's not like his best friend or anything, but it's cool because they actually know a lot about each other, which makes sense because it's just them two working together all day. We get a lot of needed exposition from this character, which really helps bring the inside stuff on Joe and his past relationships.
I'd be Googling the hell out of her right now. You know her full name?
It's pretty aggressive.
It doesn't feel forced at all. It really doesn't. I think it was such a way of bringing back Joe's past without making it annoying, and I think it was such clever writing. Now that we're on it, the writing really carries the show. It is a lot of talking, so if you're not really down for that, you're probably not going to like the show as much, but I'm not really one who likes a talking show either, but for some reason the writing felt so real that I was on board. I kind of feel the show is a modern day Ted Bundy because Joe really looks like him, and it's just throwing social media in the mix and everything else is basically the same. Because honestly, Joe should have been caught by now. There's no way that Joe does all this shit throughout the show and is able to do a season 2. If this was like with all the stuff we have nowadays with science and everything, yeah, like even in season 2, there's so many remarks to how he left the jar of pee there and like, guys, just forget about that whole thing. Like, let's just pretend it didn't happen. But yeah, he's really like Ted Bundy, a good looking guy, mid-20s, seems nice and charming, really likable, but deep down he's fucking crazy. Like, if that's not Ted Bundy, I don't know who is. And the twist ending really got me pissed off, guys. I'm gonna go over why I think this was the worst possible option that they chose. Okay, so Love comes in, sees Joe in the cage, Candace and them have a little talk, and then eventually Candace walks away for some fucking reason, I don't know why. Love eventually goes on and kills Candace right outside there, and then we realize that she's kind of psychotic, I guess. She killed 40's child molester babysitter relationship thing they had going on, even though that was consensual. I get the year difference, but still, it made no sense. I don't know why they went that way. It really made sense for 40 or literally anything else to happen. I really thought they were foreshadowing 40 kind of having this thing with Joe, and I thought that made sense. That was built up for that. But this whole thing where, let me tell you why it doesn't make sense, because that whole scene where Joe eventually gets caught with all the bullshit names, she's mad at him but okay with it. And okay, that's not the weird part. The weird part is how she breaks up with him, even though, because he was crazy. She breaks up because he was crazy, but she's crazy too. Even though Joe's crazy. What the fuck is going on? Okay, so that whole thing where Love kills Delilah absolutely makes no sense, and it totally ruins the character of Love. Even though I honestly wasn't too fond of her, like I definitely like Guinevere Beck a lot more. I thought she was more real and felt the character like way more on point. It really just doesn't make sense and just totally drags down the realness of the show. That's my main problem with season 2, guys, in the show. That's my main problem with you, is that whole thing didn't make sense. And the fact that Joe has always been a good person. He's only killed bad people. Joe's never went ahead and killed somebody just because he had to. Even with the Will guy, even though that part was a little sus too, how Will just eventually let him be scot-free. But okay, you know, whatever. Okay, I'll let that slide. But yeah, he doesn't even kill Will. He puts him in the cage, eventually lets him go because he's done nothing wrong. At least in season 1, where he killed Guinevere's ex-boyfriend, he kind of had a manslaughter thing where he let a boy drown, so that made sense to where Joe could kill him. Plus, he was kind of just an asshole. He wasn't a good person. Joe's never condoned killing a good person, and went ahead and killed Delilah, and Joe's still with Love. That doesn't make sense. Joe would have to kill Love. That's the only standard. And at the very last scene of the show, we get a hint that Joe likes another girl, and Joe doesn't cheat on girls. That's not his character. Why are they messing up his fucking character in the last episode? Guys, this shit made no sense. I'm sorry. They totally messed up Joe's character. If you don't watch the last episode, if they totally changed the last episode, I would have gave this an A+. I would have loved it, but totally fucked up that at the end, guys. Tell me what you think, if that made sense for you guys, but kind of ruined the whole character of Joe for me, and that Joe's the entire show, so kind of had it disappointed, but is what it is, guys. Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching. Then again, I really love season 1. Season 1 nailed Joe, the character, perfectly. Thought it was fucking fantastic. Season 2, on the other hand, not so much, just because the last episode. Oh my god, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they fucking did that. Oh my god. Alright, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think again. Peace.